Hello everybody and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. We're your boys. We always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host Nicholas Blaylock. And today, folks, we're going to be looking at George Springer. Last year, not really the best season for George Springer. Not the season that we are accustomed to seeing, right? And if this Toronto Blue Jays team is going to go, you expect your leadoff man to also go with it, and that is George Springer. We're going to be looking at what it is that he needs to do this upcoming season to get back into form. Before we do, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. So first things first, let's just flash over and remind everybody what it was that he did in 2023.
Yeah, George Springer, this was definitely a career low for him ever since breaking out with the Houston Astros. He had a batting average, which is around his career batting average of .258, like about 10 points below. But the big drop off and what makes George Springer hit Springers is that slugging, and he only had a slugging about .405. In total, it comes to an on-base plus slugging of .732, which is one of the lowest in his career. And, you know, that's not really what you want. Like you said, if you're wanting a guy to set the table, .732 isn't bad, but you're the Toronto Blue Jays, and the biggest problem for us is we didn't have that thump. We need a threat at the top of the lineup to get the game going. Started off 1-0 for the Blue Jays, and we're going to have this guy for a while, right? He's 34 years old. He's creeping into his later years, and we look over at his contract. We got about 3 more years of $24 million each per year, so we really do need to get him back to where he was, or at least get him somewhere near close to where he was when he was with the Houston Astros to make that $24 million really pay off.
Well, and that contract right there, like they always say this. They always say this in the MLB, is that you get paid for home runs. And that is why George Springer got paid, not because of the batting average or the on base, because if you look at it, I mean, sure, yeah, it's okay. .268 career batting average, .354 on base, like good. But really what went above and beyond was the fact that he almost always had close to that 500 slugging. That is what is special about him, and that is what instills a sense of fear, a threat into these pitchers. When you have to deal with a guy, the first guy in the entire game that you were going to see could 100% just annihilate it over the fence. And we did not see that at all from him last year. And a big part of that is that the pitch that he should be annihilating, he just wasn't doing it, and that is the fastball, everybody.
Yeah, looking over here, guys, at his baseball savant, you can see his last 3 years where he's been attacking certain pitches. And right here's the column I want to point your attention if you're watching on YouTube. Run value. So how many runs does he create attacking those certain pitches? Back in 2021, when he made his debut with the Toronto Blue Jays, he had a really rough year with the injuries, but when he was on the field, this guy was dominant. He had that slugging and that OPS, or the OPS more in particular, over 900 that year. He was really, really good. He attacked the four-seam fastball for run value of 18. And if you're listening on podcast, that's in that red. So that's looking really good. That's dominant.
Phenomenal, too. And I just noticed this as well. On that pitch, on that very pitch, 753 slugging.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that's not expected to be his entire season-long stuff, because obviously that's just one pitch. But that is how you punish pitchers for if they ever throw a fastball. You have them worrying now, right? You have them worrying that if I attack you with the fastball, I might get completely just annihilated, right? And that's what gets them in their heads. And then they have to start throwing off-speed stuff, and they're missing, and then you get your walks, right? And I feel like that's what George Springer's game is based on. I will kill your fastball, so it's just better that you dance around the zone so I can get on base.
Absolutely. I mean, hell, even to his own credit, he was hitting the curveball for a nice 611 slugging, slider of 508. So even those mistake pitches, he was able to recognize out of the hand early, turn on it, and do damage, hit it over the left field wall. And then he did it again, the same thing in 2022. Not as great as a year overall with the OPS, but still did a lot of damage against that four-seam fastball. Again, dealing with a lot of injuries that year too, so that could have plagued him a bit. But then all of a sudden you look at 2023, and what the heck happened? Four-seam fastball, -2. Sinker just 1, which he also has done damage against in other years prior. That was the big change for me. And I'm going to scroll up right here on YouTube if you guys are watching. 2023, you look at what he did with the batting run value, it's in the poor category, under the average. You know, same with a lot of these other things like barrel, hard hit, and expected slugging all below. And then you look at 2022, really high. 2021, really high as well at the barrel percentage. So he was really doing a lot of damage in the run value. So what the hell happened, man? Like, where do you take from this? Is it age? Is it injury?
Wow.
He wasn't that injured last year, but what is the approach? What do you take from that?
So the first thing that everybody is going to say, the easy answer is, okay, he's getting older, right? He's getting older right now. The guy is 34 years old. The power is going to start to go. And I do agree with that to a point. You know, of course, when a player gets older, a lot of times it's just naturally going to happen, right? Like your body's going to get a little bit slower. You're going to feel a little bit more rigid. You know, it's going to take you longer to warm up, and your swing just isn't going to be as quick as it once was when you were 28 or 29. So sure, I do think that that is a factor, but I don't think that it is such a sizable factor to have that big of a drop off. And when you looked at George Springer last year, like you said, the guy was healthy, which is something that we haven't seen for a very long time. And even in those seasons where he wasn't healthy, he was still drilling the fastball. So with all of that being considered, sure, he's getting older, but I think that the biggest thing has got to do with the approach. And this was a team-wide thing. It was not just a George Springer thing, because when you look at some other players like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., somebody who has absolutely punished fastballs in the past, looking at 2021, the guy had a run value of 34, and then in 2022, a run value of 7. But then in 2023, the guy had a run value of 1. 1 run off of the fastball. And if you look at that slugging, it was significantly down from years prior.
Yeah. I mean, another case scenario, not to beat a dead horse, but when you saw Kirk break out in 2022, he had a run value of 11. That's greater than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And then again, back to 0. He had a bad year last year. A very simple part of the game for those who aren't like diehard fans, or maybe you're new to baseball. Very simple part of the game is, what do you always got to do? You have to attack the fastball. If you're a pitcher, what do you got to do? You got to establish the fastball. Why? Because everything builds off that. If you're a pitcher, everything kind of breaks off your fastball. If you're a hitter, that's where your timing is most set. If you can hit that fastball directly back up the middle of the diamond, then you're going to be able to still, if your timing's right and you recognize with the hand, still hit the curveball, hit the slider, recognize it, lay off of it, right? Because you're timed up. For whatever reason, and this is why there's been some changes in that hitting coach staff for the Toronto Blue Jays this offseason. For whatever reason, whatever game plan they have, I'm not going to try and guess what it is. Whatever it was not hit the fastball. It was something trying to be cute, trying to be too perfect, trying to change these guys away, trying to get them away from their strengths.
Yeah.
And instead of just hitting the fastball. And I got to give a big shout out right here to Matt Hague, who's going to be the Blue Jays' new assistant hitting coach. Real quick shout out right here to Battlegrounds. If you guys are going to plan something for Valentine's Day or you want to throw a party, go check out Battlegrounds. Right here, Shai Davidi quotes Matt Hague with basically the approach that he wants to take for these Toronto Blue Jays this season, saying, I don't want to fill the brains with stuff that can cloud them. I want to emphasize their strengths and bring them out more often. So if I'm reading that, this is what I want to hear if I'm a Blue Jay fan. Don't get cute with your approach. Stick to what was working in 2022 and 2021, which is hit the fastball hard. Don't worry about the other pitches. If you're going to sit on the fastball, you're going to recognize the other pitches. Don't worry about it. Simplify. That's better. And if George Springer can do that, going back to him, I think he's going to be just fine.
Well, that's why I feel very confident that George Springer is actually going to bounce back, right? Like there was a lot of people getting down on Springer and really saying that the age is a big factor. And at the beginning of the offseason, I think I was one of those people. But now that we have done that additional level of research and looked into what the problem is, I mean, it seems kind of simple to me, guys. Like, you don't go from being a fastball hitter, somebody who just punishes fastballs your entire career, and then immediately have that fall off, right? You never see that, because even if you're getting older and you're getting slower, you're still going to be able to recognize it. You're still going to know, you're going to understand the count more, right? So I truly do believe that it was 100% an approach thing. And I think that even looking at this and seeing Guerrero and Kirk and George Springer, and I'm sure that there was a lot of other Toronto Blue Jays players who the same thing happened to, where they just were not punishing the fastball, I kind of understand why Ross Atkins is so hopeful that this lineup is going to bounce back. Because when you look at it, the solution is right there in front of you, boys. When you see the ball coming out of the hand and it is going straight, you then crank that thing. You know?
Like, you got to recognize fastballs and fastball counts, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of the time, good pitchers are going to throw you sliders or off speed. But if you're looking for the fastball, and if you're recognizing the pitch well, if you are staying locked in, you can still lay off those off-speed pitches, right? Because, hey, look.
Whoa, time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
If I'm looking for the fastball in one zone and I get a slider in that zone, in that exact zone, yeah, I might get fooled because I got to start my load a little bit early. I got to start my swing early. But if I'm locked in and I'm in a fastball count, which is a favorable count, and if the fastball's on the outside part of the plate, okay, I'll leave it there. But then if you get a slider on the outside that starts at the outside part of the plate, it'll dip away, and I'm going to take ball 3, right? If it's a 2-0 count. So if they could just stick with their fastball approach and just simplify the game's going to come to them just fine.
Well, you got to make the pitchers work for it, right? And I would rather be in a situation where the pitcher is forced to paint a slider on the edge of the corner, which is a very difficult pitch to execute. There's not a whole lot of guys in the MLB who can do that and can really get the corner. I would rather force them to a situation where they have to do that, where if they make a mistake, well, it's going to hang right in the middle of the zone, or it's going to fly out for, like you said, ball 3, right? If they can just get away with punishing you with the fastball, get to strike 2 automatically with the fastball, we are going to lose that battle every single time.
Because what happens, what I say before, pitchers want to establish the fastball. Okay, so now they start pumping you fastball strike 1. Well, now it's your job to recognize they're hitting you with fastball strike 1 and you're taking them. Now you're going to start punishing them. Then you start punishing them. Then what do? They're going to start throwing sliders on the corners to try to get cute. And then guess what? 1-0, 2-0. Now I'm in a fastball count again. Guess what? They're not going to want to walk me because I got some good hitters behind me also establishing, doing the same thing. So then it's a domino effect. Stick with the fastball. George will be fine. With that being said, what do you project for George Springer? Yes, I do think that age is a little bit of a factor, not the whole factor. I think the approach is the main factor. What do you kind of expect him to do this year?
I think it would be very optimistic to have him jump back to those 2021 numbers, so I'm not going to go that far. But I think 2022 is very reasonable, guys. He finished with an 814, OPS that year. He had a 472 slugging, which is very close to his career, even slightly below it. I think that all of that is well within the range of outcomes for him. And at the top of the Toronto Blue Jays lineup, a bounce back like that, I would be more than happy with.
Yeah, if he could stay healthy too, I think that, that is probably expected if he can go and dominate fastballs like he did down here.
Yeah.
With, the run value 15 and 18. If he can do that, I think he's going to be just fine.
Folks, let us know your projections for George Springer, for Vladdy, for Kirk in the comments down below. Let's let you know if you believe that this is kind of what's going on right there, and if Matt Hague is potentially the answer to fix the Toronto Blue Jays lineup.
Yeah, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to all of our current Patreon members and to our YouTube members. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much for watching.
And go Jays, go!